Yeah, damn it.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. Face the truth. You'll set you free.
I know.
Well, let's get this bad boy up and running.
Okay.
So, hey, welcome everybody to another episode of Face the Truth. This is gonna be cool. This fella and I go back, way back. Maybe met him a couple times briefly, but we both went to the same art school, and I had to hear about this guy all the time. Like, oh, he's just Scott Tallman. He's this amazing painting. This guy, look at you, see his work. Blah blah blah. Yeah. Him, Alex Ross. Okay, I get it. They're really cool. Whatever. It was really cool because while I was at art school, I got to see a bunch of his paintings, and we did hear about him all the time. But throughout the years, I've been following his work. This guy is an amazing painter, and the thing that I love about his work, I'm a huge fan of Rockwell. His work doesn't look like Rockwell. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm a huge fan of Rockwell because of storytelling and the capturing, like the feeling of character and storytelling. And the thing about his paintings that I really like is he definitely has a warmth in his paintings. There's like this, you can almost feel the temperature, but there is a story, there's character, you can almost smell like the food in the air or something. They're really, really beautiful paintings, capturing a lot of times completely different cultures than what I'm familiar with. And I almost feel like I get to escape a little bit when I look at his paintings. Also, just beautiful use of color and everything like that. So anyways, everyone, welcome the one and only Scott Tallman Powers.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, man. And by the way, before we get into anything, I have to ask this right off the bat.
Okay.
Scott Tallman Powers. Like,
yes,
is
I'm
this
not
like
very tall.
Is this like your Superman name, or like, is this real name, or is this a stage name?
Well, I don't think I've ever explained it publicly, really, because I was born Roderick Scott Powers, and in the South, a lot of family members, they'll call you by your middle name as your first name, and so then I got adopted by my stepdad as time went on, and he was Tallman last name, and so I was Scott Tallman for a number of years, and then it just, signing your paintings like that, it felt odd for me, and I was having kind of identity issues or something. But then I wanted to go back to my original name, but blend the two names together because I didn't want to make my brother and sister.
Well, let's come back. You were talking about your name and how, like, you were saying something about how your brothers and sisters, you wanted to keep.
Yeah, I have a brother and a sister who are Tallman, and I didn't want to, I wanted to honor, both fathers also, because I wouldn't be the man I am today without both fathers. Yeah. And also I didn't want my brother and sister to feel like I abandoned them in any way. Yeah. So I just blended the two. So it just kept sticking and working. And it's good.
Yeah. So. No, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. That's cool, man. That's funny. It's funny how, like, it's because I think you're familiar with my dad, right? My dad's an artist.
Yeah.
And so I remember, like, when I was growing up and everything, and I was determined I'm going to be an artist. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking my dad would, when I would sign things, I remember telling him, like, there's going to be another Siler out there doing art, Yeah. And I remember I would practice my signature for like the longest time because because of my dad and his signature, This is so funny. I think maybe I've talked about this, but his signature bothered me so much, like aesthetically, that it affected, like, there's early on in my career, I would barely sign certain things because my dad used to do this signature where he would write Larry Seiler, but he would do it so that his signature looked like a duck.
Oh,
like,
really?
Like it would be a duck head, and it would be turn into the letter L, and it'd be the body would be airy and like Seiler, but it was like a duck. It would look like a, because he did like duck stamps and all this, and he thought this was clever. And when I was a kid, it bothered me. And eventually he stopped doing it. But it's funny now when I look back at those paintings, I love that because I'm like, it reminds me of when I was a kid, and it's kind of cool to see that. But like,
it's good memories.
But like, then as he started changing, he just, he would do like a big S and a silent. And so now it's funny, if you look at my signatures, it's usually like sometimes I don't even sign stuff.
Yeah.
But mostly it's like real small and like spread out, and it's usually hidden. And like, it's become a pet peeve of mine, like where I don't really want to see a signature. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I get it. I understand.
It's kind of funny, but anyways,
well, I started doing that. I have a little thing at the end of my signature whenever I sign the paintings. And so whenever I put that little stripe at the back of my name, that tells me that I completed that piece. I put everything I had into it. And then whenever I sign it without it, it was like a study or it wasn't a finished piece.
Oh, that's cool.
So it kind of gives me an idea whenever I go back and look at my paintings. If I didn't put that little whoosh at the end of it, it was just
you didn't sign off on that one. Yeah,
I didn't sign off on it.
Dude, there's been like a few illustrations I've done for magazines where I was like not happy with the work, and I didn't sign it, and then I told the publication, please don't put my name in there. Like I just told them like, and they're like, I go, yeah, I just don't, and they kind of be like bothered a little bit, but I'm like, yeah, I don't want credit for that one.
You weren't feeling it?
Well, like, I mean, like early on, like when I was getting going with it, like I would get crazy deadlines sometimes, like 1 or 2 days, and they want me to draw Obama doing something, and I was just starting to figure out how to draw Obama because he just became president. And so there was a couple. I remember early on there was a couple I did of Hillary and Obama that I'm like, I did not like them at all because I only had like a couple days, and it was just like I felt rushed. And
your deadlines are insane.
That's just illustration, It's kind of a monster that way.
Yeah, no kidding.
But so I can't remember. I'm trying to think about when. So I went to the academy.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 2004 was when I first went. And so I don't know where or how I met you. I think I met your sister, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to remember. I just remember like hearing about your work and seeing your work. But I think I met you back then. It's kind of a blur.
I think it was in Duncan Webb's office.
Okay.
When we first met, I think, and because I knew about your work, and I was like, oh man, I look forward to meeting him. And then he came into the office. Was
I in there begging him to for me to be able to test out of the life drawing classes? Because real quick, I'll tell a funny story real quick.
Yeah.
So my ex-wife, I am not married to her obviously anymore. She's a little psycho. Anyways, timestamp. We'll take that out. Anyways, no, she's a great lady. She's a great person. But anyways, she had a real problem with me drawing and painting nudes or doing like life drawing. And she did not like when I'd come home from school, she would demand to look through my sketches.
Yeah.
And she would be like, oh, she's got pretty big boobs. Did you enjoy drawing her? Did you? And she would just give me the hardest time. And she just was so, and then she'd be angry with me for like she'd like look, and I'd be like, Liz, you don't need to look through these,
She just didn't understand.
No, she didn't get it. And like half the time I was drawing old ladies, one of the models only had one breast, because she had cancer, and she was so cool. She was a great model. And a lot of men. I drew a lot more men, actually, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
But she had a real hard time with it, which means I had a difficult time. Unhappy wife, unhappy life, So,
right.
I mean, it was becoming stressful. And at one point she was like, you don't even need this. She didn't understand what you can get from life drawing,
Right. Well, she didn't understand what our mindset was like whenever we were going in to study the figure.
Yeah, it wasn't even a body anymore. It was the shapes and light and color, and so she like basically forced me. She's like, you have to go in. You don't even need this class. And she wanted me to go to Duncan and ask if I could test out of those classes and all this. And so I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I actually went to his office and I tried to, I was like, listen, man, I don't know what to do.
What did Duncan say?
He totally understood.
Yeah.
But he was just like, nah, man, you gotta do it. And I was like, yeah, I know. I'm just, if I don't talk to you, I'm going to get in more trouble.
Well, it would have been cool if you were able to bring her to some open studios. And
she wouldn't
draw with you.
No interest. No, there's no way. No, it was a losing battle. Yeah.
Yeah, that can definitely happen. I've heard some horror stories about it. I've been lucky.
Yeah.
So,
well, my wife now is amazing. She's an artist. She's a really good. That's actually one of her paintings behind me. That's
cool.
So awesome. Yeah, so she's like, it wouldn't ever bother her at all or anything. So it's like it's completely, we're basically one and the same in almost every way possible.
Yeah, that's great.
So yeah, there's been some redemption, some karma here, but anyways, enough about me and my stories. So what was it like for you? I'm curious because you've got the one thing that I think is really cool about you is you had like this like the way I look at it anyways, you tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me like you had some sort of, I don't know, revelation or some kind of, thought of like, hey, this is the kind of genre that I want to tackle. And then like, because you travel all over the place, almost like trying to capture, different aspects of the world and culture. And I don't know if there's like some kind of adventure almost in the kind of work that you do. And it's I don't know. It reminds me a little bit of Scott Burdick and what him and his wife do, like travel around. And
I've always loved Scott and Sue's work.
Yeah.
From the academy, we saw their work all the time.
Yeah.
I've taken some classes with him, some life drawing classes at the Palette and Chisel.
Oh yeah,
He's such an awesome instructor and patient and talented as hell.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Yeah, and they like to travel around the world as well. And
oh yeah, he's got a brain on him too, man.
Big time.
Yeah. I've gotten into some great conversations with him. But was there a point like, because I mean, obviously every artist starts like just drawing whatever. I'm curious like how you got started in art in the first place. But I guess my question is maybe that, and then also what led you to what you ended up basically doing with your art, because it's pretty awesome, man. It's pretty cool.
Well, thanks. Well, there was a point where coming out of the American Academy, I started off as an illustrator at an ad agency, and just doing storyboards and different things like that. And then I quit after 4 years. And then I just did storyboards, and I was painting every day, doing portrait work and figure work and constantly training. And yeah, I was kind of searching for just a focus of subject matter and some sort of consistency. And And so a really, really good friend of mine got married over in Italy. And we went over to Italy. It was my first trip overseas. And I decided to stay for a month and travel around and experience it. And then when I got over there, I just fell in love with that country and the people and the food. And I started paying a lot more attention to, the unique cultural differences that we have that are so beautiful. And that just kind of lit the fire with that. Cause I also went over to Spain as well, and into the southern part of France and into Paris. And so I was seeing all the unique differences, and then it just exploded. I couldn't wait to go traveling to a bunch of other countries and learn more about the cultures. And the more I did that, and going over to China for a couple times, and then Morocco and other places, that I saw so many similarities with us, and then I started narrowing my focus to where I'm not really blatant, I don't think, in my paintings, where I want to show the similarities with cultures. And I don't know if it even comes across, but it's on my mind all the time. And whenever I'm going into like a back souk, like one of these old markets in Morocco by myself, and I would travel with just a backpack, and I had like 3 pairs of clothes, and that was it, with my camera and my little pochade box and a sketchbook, and I was super focused, and I would just try to have all these different experiences and try to be open to change, and a lot of times the things that I didn't plan were the little dog legs in the trip that had more discoveries. So I just love it. I just love it.
Well, you can tell that, you can tell when you look at the paintings, and that's why it was comparing to Rockwell in a way is and it's weird. It might be a weird comparison, because you don't have, it's not like because Rockwell had a little bit of exaggeration and that sort of a thing, and a little bit of humor, but the storytelling aspect, like there's, when you look at your work, there's like this like you said, like you can almost hear the painting. Like I really get lost in some of them, and we're going to talk about for the Patreon thing, we're going to talk about the paintings more in depth, but the warmth that you get in some of your paintings, it's just like blows my mind. It's awesome.
Well, sometimes I don't know how you do it, or how you kind of envision like a color harmony or something in your work, where you might just feel a certain harmony, but like looking at a market scene in one of these countries, it's total chaos, with colors and everything going on. But a lot of times I would like to pick one color that kind of permeates throughout the whole thing, and just kind of hinge my color harmony construction around that one color.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so it simplifies the chaos, and then try to. I'm constantly doing this all the time. It's just trying to get better at seeing more abstractly rather than details and realism. It's like the more we grow as artists, the more I think about abstraction.
That's a really good lesson, because I remember like there's a few times where I've gone out plein air painting with my dad, and usually when I do that, I never finish the painting. I usually stop and just watch him. So and it would get me, I would learn a lot from watching him, because the one thing I got is that when I was first trying to do plein air stuff, I was trying to paint what I was seeing, and it was so frustrating because the light is changing constantly, and it's just like, it's just like a battle, and then the mosquitoes start coming out, and I'm like, this is terrible. Like, this is the worst. Why does anybody want to do this? And but then I would notice my dad is like, I'm like, wait a minute, what are you doing? Like, there's not a tree there. And there's not this there. And there's and then I realized just using it as inspiration, and he's like creating his own painting.
Yeah, his own vision.
And it blew my mind. I'm like, wait a minute, that what? Even the colors, like he would like set up a palette, and he would just stick with that, and he wasn't chasing the sun around and all this stuff. And I'm like,
right,
wow, that's amazing. It's
your memory.
Yeah, and it's amazing. It's really cool that you do that. Like, we're like, this is going to be, I'm going to just focus on the oranges or something, and like block everything out. That's a different level of painting. You know what I mean? That's a different way of, because I can imagine, it's the same thing sometimes with like when you're trying to exaggerate or caricature somebody.
Yeah.
Sometimes, or like even if you're trying to paint someone, like really realistic, if you get caught too much in the details, it's gonna destroy things. It's gonna be too much, whatever. But if you just select this and that, it actually feels more alive and more real than if you actually painted every little thing in there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I try to pay a lot more attention and learn more especially with Instagram these days. I get so excited about seeing these new artists from all over the world.
Yeah.
And saving them all and screen capture. I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible.
Yeah.
And trying to learn as much as I can to try to get better at that strong abstract design, and then learning what to leave out. And because I like the paintings that have some chunky paint in there, but they have the realism that supports all that, abstraction, and the abstraction supports the realism. So
and you work pretty large, don't you? I mean, I've seen some of your paintings look pretty big.
Some of them are pretty big. I've done some larger landscapes and stuff too, but because I started out as a landscape painter and then went into doing figurative work, landscapes and cityscapes.
Yeah. So when you're going on these trips, are you basically just doing studies and sketches while you're there, and then photographing everything? Yeah. And then you bring it back.
Photographs. Yeah.
Okay.
Thousands of photographs. But then, how sometimes you'll have an idea, or you'll see something and it'll just be like, boom, that's it. And you sketch out the whole composition. And then I just keep that in my sketchbook, and I'll keep going back to it. And I might even, whenever I'm taking a break by myself or having dinner, I'll write down the photograph number that inspired that, and so I can go back to it without searching for it forever. And so I try to keep good notes to come back to things. But
because that'd be if you're taking like hundreds of photos.
But there's some things that you can do painting from life, like especially like in something that's chaotic, like a market scene, like I was talking about before. Is just I would do these little small studies, and I could relatively complete a 10 by 12 painting from life with tons and tons of people going all over the place. And so by doing it enough times, I started learning that a lot of people repeat their movements. They repeat themselves. And the people who are replenishing the fruit, and the person who's behind the counter or behind the thing selling the fruit or whatever, they will repeat the same movements for hours. And
that's interesting. Wow.
Yeah. So if you look at something chaotic, and I just squint my eyes and just try to see where the abstraction is, that it really resonates with me, like a strong abstraction. Yeah. Then I build the story within the abstraction.
Okay.
And then whenever I'm working on the center of interest, that person, I will come and put the other people in once they repeat their movements. Once they leave, I'll stop on them and I'll go to the person that's doing this. And so your mind is bouncing around all over the place in there. Yeah. But still trying to keep the continuity.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah. That's a skill that takes years of just doing it, to figure that out. Yeah.
But remember Ted Miscavige at the American Academy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh man, he's the reason, that I love doing all that chaotic stuff, because he could simplify all that chaos
Yeah.
and make it into something brilliant and have like a great story.
That's something that people don't really think about,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I'm hearing myself echo now. That was
Really?
weird. Yeah, that's definitely something that is, you know, I would say is sort of abstract from, you know, like when you're going to school and stuff, that'd be kind of something interesting for students, I think, to kind of practice, because that's just something that you wouldn't even think of really, you know, unless you're doing it. Because like for me, like I don't really draw from life as much now. You know, I used to like, you know, ride the train a lot and sketch.
Yeah.
I used to love drawing people out when I was on the train, and I still do like to draw people from life every once in a while, but it's what I usually try to do, because usually I'm always exaggerating the form or pushing things, and
you were awesome at it, by the way.
Oh, thank you. But I'm usually like, you know, the people are talking or moving, and usually like my first instinct is what I go with, like the first feeling or whatever. But you're right, like the people, you know, they move or they sit down or they turn around or they leave, and you're like, oh, I got this drawing I just started. Then you just kind of, you know, I'm just going to finish it from my memory or whatever.
Right.
But then another person comes by and you can kind of build. I've done that before, where I'm like, that person has some similar features, and I just keep messing with the drawing, and it's actually a morph of two different people.
Yeah.
But that kind of stuff's great. That's the one thing I think I learned a lot. I think if I was going to take one thing that I learned the most from school, was the drawing and painting from life, because I realized, you know, as far as painting goes, I don't know, I think I became a better painter because of, you know, because before that I never drew or painted from life really. Everything was from references and photos, but once I started painting from life, I started to notice things about color and soft edges and different things that, you know, so now like I'm mostly a studio artist, and when I have to paint something for like a magazine like Time or something like that, when I have to paint like a portrait, they'll send me like really realistic references. My family just got home, so you probably hear it's a baby's crying in the background. Like, you know, a lot of the photos that they send you are just like photos, you know, like really maybe like really high contrast, or like or the darks are just black, and you know that in reality it's not that way.
Yeah, no reflected light or something.
Yeah, it's just like all of a sudden it'll just like someone's mouth will be open and it'll just be blackness, dark, you know, it's like that's not what it looks like. So that's the one thing I think I really got from that, and that's the one thing too about your paintings that I really love is you really do an amazing job of capturing the what's the word, like the atmosphere of like, you know, the perspective and the depth of things.
That comes from painting outside, from all those years of painting on the streets in Chicago and painting landscapes. I mean, that just trains your eye.
That's right. You just reminded me of so I remember that now. That's one thing. You used to do the palette and chisel like plein air thing, right?
Oh yeah,
Back then, okay.
Chicago.
Yeah,
they're still going strong.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
really cool. I always wanted to do that, just never. Like I'm always too busy with other things, but yeah, I remember that now. That's so funny. Because I think I actually ran into you one time, like outside painting. There's a bunch of people. This was a long time ago now.
Yeah, we used to take over neighborhoods.
Yeah,
we would just be like, you know, you'd have this army of artists that would come into a neighborhood.
Yeah, that's so awesome, man.
But it was good because we all supported each other, and you know, we didn't want to, you know, not show up on a Saturday because we knew everybody else was going to be there, and so it kind of got you all riled up to get out there to paint. Yeah, and then we had critiques, and it was great.
Really that's so awesome. Palette and Chisel is a cool place. Yeah, that place is really cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I always get asked this all the time. Like, do you think it's important to go to art school? And I have nothing against art schools or the academy or anything like that, but I think back on it, and I think from my own personal experience, I think what I tell people is, if you're a hard worker and you have, you're gonna work hard, and because that's really what it is. You have to have the passion, the ambition. You have to be able to work really hard, and you're not gonna be able to be a good artist if you don't push yourself, and you have to do the work yourself.
Yeah, you got to have a crazy work ethic.
Yeah, you can do that at school, and school can help you, but you can also do it on your own. And if there's a place like Palette and Chisel, you could do that, and it's more affordable, and then go to business school. Like if you're going to go to college, take business classes. That's like, if I could redo it, that's what I would have done. I would have gotten like a degree in marketing and business.
Oh yeah.
And I just would have went to the Palette and Chisel, and because that's the thing that that's the thing. I think a lot of people are like, well, how do I can draw and paint, but now what?
Right. I know a lot of us felt that way.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of I wish if I went back, I would have done that too. I would have taken more business classes,
Yeah. That's definitely something that I've thought about that for years. Like,
yeah. we were so obsessed with drawing and painting all the time. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to do anything else. And so I was just so obsessed that every single day I was doing it. So,
and that's one thing I liked about the Academy too, is that they set everything up. Like, I went for about 2 years, and everything I did was pretty much my gen eds. Like I had life drawing and fundamentals, and I had like a couple painting from life class, like oil painting, but I didn't take anything towards my degree that I was going to do. It was mostly writing essays, giving speeches, but the one thing I liked about the Academy was that everything was surrounded or based around art. So even the math class was all about art.
Yeah.
The science classes was all about, anatomy.
Yeah.
The human body. Yeah. So I was getting my science class in, but it was, it was basically like an advanced art class. My anatomy class was really actually one of the most difficult classes ever. But
I loved those classes. So much.
Yeah. No, it was great, man. Do you know Chris Kozlowski?
I don't think so.
He might have been a newer teacher. I don't know if he's still there or not, but he was a great teacher. But he was my anatomy teacher, and like every week we had to have drawings due. So it wasn't just it wasn't just stuff about the bones, but then he wanted us to draw all the bones. Right. And he had said at the beginning of the course that I don't give A's on anything. So don't even, and I'm like, wait a minute, I got a 4.0 here. Don't fuck this up for me.
Yeah. Right.
And so instead of doing drawings every week, I was doing acrylic paintings every week. I was like, I'm going to get that A.
Yeah.
And then, but for our midterms, we had to draw the skeleton front and back from memory, all 206 bones. It had to be perfect. And then the final, we had to do the same thing, but then we had to lay vellum on top and do all the muscles from memory.
Oh, that's what we did too.
Yeah, that was the hardest class, man. But I got the A. But I remember I drew that just over and over and over. Yeah. Those are good.
It really locks into your mind.
Yeah. I tell people that too, like even just understanding the human anatomy and the bones in that way, and how light works when it hits because really what you're seeing the skeleton all the time. Right. But now, like when I look at a buffalo or a grizzly bear, I don't know their anatomy like perfectly, but I can sense it because you
can feel it
because of Chris Kozlowski making me
and then studying so hard.
Yeah.
Drawings and just locking them in your mind.
So like I'm not gonna. How often do you get to travel around now? Because you're out west now, right? This is where you're located.
I'm in Butte, Montana.
Ah, geez.
So after I left Chicago, I went to Idaho, and I was in a small little town called Titonia, and a good buddy of mine, Scott Christensen's he's a fantastic landscape painter.
Yeah.
And my buddy Gene Costanza, he was in Oregon, but he was always over in Idaho. And I really loved being there. It was a great place, but I just needed something different with my work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought that I was going to go up to Alaska and just, I put together this camper and was pulling it behind my truck after I left Idaho after about 4 years, and went up to Alaska for 2 years. And I was going to track down gold miners, Native Americans, hunters, trappers, fishermen. And it was an adventure. I lived in a small camper for the first year. And then I rented I couldn't get enough information because I was having issues with trying to get people to trust me enough to model for me. Yeah. And just living out in the bush and, fishing for my food and cooking everything over a fire. You do that for a couple of years. And in the second year, I was living in a tent. So I lived in a tent for about 6 or 7 months, and a 2-man tent with my dog. And he was my lifeline for not going crazy. And but I was doing paintings outside that were for museum shows down here in the lower 48.
Wow.
And dealing with all kind of crazy weather and some rednecks and having amazing times too. I made such good friends up there.
Yeah.
And boy, Alaskans just really take care of each other big time.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So they were giving me moose meat, bear meat, and all kinds of stuff that I could cook out on the fire. And it was a great inspiration, but it was so difficult to make a living.
Oh man, it sounds amazing and crazy at the same time.
It was nuts.
Yeah.
I started realizing that, man, all you think about when you're living in the woods like that, all you think about is like safety, fire, shelter, all of the essentials.
Yeah.
And food and water. And I could feel my mind kind of tweaking a little bit after a while. And I was like, wow, I gotta really
Jesus,
get my shit together. So,
now, my obvious question is, did you have any run-ins with bears when you're up there?
No, I didn't see any grizzly bears or anything. And I was living in the woods in the middle of nowhere. I didn't see grizzly bears until I didn't see grizzly bears until I got to Kalispell, Montana.
That's okay. So where in Alaska were you?
I was in the Kenai Peninsula and up there towards Wasilla and Anchorage.
Okay.
And I went all the way when I came up through the Yukon Territory. I went up to I crossed the border around the town called Chicken. There's a tiny little town called Chicken, and that was like a little gold mining town.
Oh, okay.
And I hung out with gold miners there, and that was quite an experience. And then I just kept traveling over to Fairbanks and stayed in Fairbanks for a little bit. And then I came down and I started exploring there towards the Kenai Peninsula, and I didn't get down to the Panhandle.
It's funny because I've only been to Alaska once, and still by far one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in my entire life. And my dad was in Juneau teaching a painting workshop, and he asked me if I wanted to come and spend a week there. I'm like, yeah. So I went up, and it was just what'd you say?
What was that like?
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah. And so when I got there, as the plane was landing, it's landing over, I could see like a channel, and I'm seeing humpback whales surfacing like as my plane's landing. I'm like, what the? And I remember getting out of the plane, and I've never smelled air so fresh, and you can smell the sitkas like just everywhere. And everyone is talking about is bears. There's bears everywhere. And so the first night my dad he was like staying on this property in the woods, in this really nice house, but then they had like this little shack with no heat. There's no bathroom, but there's 2 cots in there, and they're like, you can stay there. So my dad was staying there. And so I think one night in that shack was like the last night he was there, and it was the summertime, so it never really got dark,
Yeah, right.
And one night, my dad that night, my dad's like, "Hey, let's go for a walk." All we had is a bear whistle with us.
Oh, really?
And I'm like we're going through a walk through the woods, and all I'm thinking about is bears the whole time. I'm like,
oh yeah.
And it's beautiful, and I'm just like, every single thing I see, like I saw like an old tractor, and I'm like, oh, if I could run up on top of that real quick. I saw like it looked like an old outhouse. I'm like, I could get in there and shut the door. Like I was like, that's all I was thinking is, what am I gonna do if I see a bear?
Mhm.
And I didn't even think about my dad. I was like, I'm gonna be faster than you, dude. And so as we're walking, all of a sudden, and it's like getting late at night, but it's cool because you can see everything.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I start smelling fish. I can smell fish. And I'm like, I go, Dad, you smell that? He's like, what? I go, I smell like fish, a fishy smell. He goes, yeah, I smell that too. I was like, don't you think if we can smell fish,
yeah,
a bear can smell fish? Like
miles.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, are you getting a little freaked out? I go, yeah, a little bit. Like, I kind of don't really want to be walking around in the woods. It's, yeah. And then all of a sudden we get to this like a little lake thing. And we walk up to there's like a pile of fish guts and stuff everywhere. Like someone was fishing and just left everything there, like guts.
That's not good.
Yeah. And I was like, let's, and my dad's like, okay, maybe we should turn around, So we left, and then we didn't see a bear, but the whole time I'm freaking out. We get back to the little shack, and my dad, he bought a book about Juneau bear attacks.
Yep.
Okay. And he thought this would be fun to read to me. So I'm laying in my cot. It's freezing. I had to pee all night long, but I would not go outside because you had to go outside to pee in the woods. And I'm like, I'm not going up there. So I'm freezing after pee. There's, we have a little teeny like heater, but that's it. And my dad's reading me these stories about, this story with a bear like swipes a guy's hips. His hips just get ripped out with one swipe, and how they can rip car doors off and all kinds of things. He's true Juneau bear attack stories all night long. He's reading them to me and he's laughing, and I'm like freaking out. So then the next day we ended up moving to this woman's house. She had like a apartment that we could stay in her basement. And we ended up painting. We went to the Mandahall Glacier and painted. It was really cool.
Oh, cool.
And I saw a bald eagle eating someone's cat.
What?
Yeah. I walked around the corner and I heard like a bell ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling, ding-a-ling-a-ling.
Oh my God.
And there's an eagle just like a T-Rex just, and
man.
It's like someone's cat. So I'm like, this place is wild. I had a squirrel that ran up my leg. I'm like, this place is like literally wild. So then after we're done painting, we went to this this person's house in Juneau, and we're having wine and cheese and all this stuff. And I asked them, I said, do you guys ever like just see bears like in the town? Like, oh yeah. Okay. And I was like standing on the balcony, and just when I said that, a bear comes walking right through their yard, like just right there. And it's like you couldn't have timed it any better. Like, what in the world? And my dad ran down to the car to get his camera so he could take pictures of the bear, and the bear saw him and got scared and ran away. And I'm like, you're insane, Dad. You just like, and then they told us that people in Juneau, actually, it's kind of like a commonly known thing. They leave their doors unlocked so that in case you see a bear, you can just run into someone's house real quick.
Oh, that's great.
Just in case, so that's like everyone's kind of like, they leave the door unlocked. I mean, people aren't worried. It's landlocked. There's not going to be very many criminals. You can't go anywhere.
And so they're looking out for each other.
Yeah. And then we went out to eat in Juneau, and there were signs that said, if you eat fish, especially make sure you wash your hands very, very well, because so in Juneau, like the channel is down on the bottom, and then it's like a big mountain. And at night, the bears come down from the mountain and they walk through the town to eat fish in the channel. So they're walking through the town all the time.
Oh yeah.
So it was pretty awesome. Yeah. But anyways,
that panhandle is so beautiful down there. I've just never been before.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. I really would love to go again, but that was when I was going to the academy when I went there.
Wow.
That was a long
What a
time
great
ago.
experience.
Yeah. I was freaked out by bears the whole time though.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, living out west, you definitely get bear aware fast.
Oh yeah. You
Yeah.
see them out there though, where you live now?
Yeah, yeah. They're here. They're all over the place.
And
You
do
know,
you have to
they're
do you
not as
bring
constant.
protection or what do you do? Like,
Yeah, bear spray.
okay.
Bear spray, and also every time my girlfriend and I go out hiking or go out anywhere, I just kind of visualize. I just kind of, just like with anything else,
Yeah.
I just imagine the bears are going to be popping out, so I'm not surprised whenever it happens. And so I'll just visualize before I go, and then I just have my bear spray and have it in certain times of the year, right whenever they're coming out of their dens. I'll have a couple
Yeah.
bear spray, one right here on my pack and one on my side. And bear spray is the way to go.
Yeah.
I mean,
what's in that stuff? Is it just like terrible smell or does it burn their eyes or what is it
oh
like?
yeah, I got that shit. It got it in my eyes.
Oh.
Down in Arizona. I forgot I had it in my truck, and I was doing this painting. I had this model out in this ranch, and then it was getting hot, so I didn't want to have the bear spray in my truck, so I put it out on top of this chest thing that was outside. They had one of those Great Pyrenees dogs that protected the ranch. This dog was huge and such a sweet dog. But one night, that dog got up and grabbed that bear spray off the top shelf and bit into it. There were bite holes all in it, and he must have had a rough night.
Oh.
And then whenever
he's dead now.
Yeah, I smelled something, and it was in the air, and I was like, oh, and I went to go look for it, and I found it in his doghouse, and so I wasn't even thinking, I just grabbed it, and it had all the goo all over it. And then I just went and threw it out. I was like, oh man, you must have had a rough night, boy. And then I scratched my eyes with it on my fingers.
Yeah.
Just that little amount, all this stuff comes pouring out of my face, and I'm like coughing and gagging, and I'm right by where the mules were, and I was just like hanging my head over the fence, and just that little tiny bit. It took 30 minutes for me to even get remotely back to normal again.
You managed spraying that in a bear's face. I mean, I guess that's the stuff, man.
It's powerful.
What do they put in that?
I don't know exactly. I don't know if
this is what women should have the same thing. Like walking around in Chicago, women in Chicago or big cities should have bear spray, man.
Well, oh yeah. Well, I think it's a smaller dose, like the regular spray that the mace or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's the same stuff, but it's just a smaller, it's not as concentrated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you got to have the juice for the bears.
Yeah. Gosh, man.
Never happened to me before. I've never had to use it on one, but I'm just glad to have it.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to have to use it.
No way, man. Well, we're gonna. So before we go any further, I just want to say to everyone listening, this is going to be a special 2-part episode, but the second part's going to be for my Patreon fans, and you can check out Patreon at patreon.com/Jason Seiler. We're going to do an in-depth look at Scott's paintings. We're going to look at, some of his, talk about his process, and just, who knows, we're just going to go through his art, and he's going to talk about it. So it's going to be really cool. But before we do that, I want to show Scott some fan art. There's some fan art that people did.
Fan art?
Of you. So we're going to show you that real quick. And so I'm sorry, this is a little bit of a shorter podcast, but this was more of a warm up for what's going to be continuing on with Patreon. So if you like it, you got to get on over to that Patreon and show the brother some love. You know what I'm saying? I got to keep the lights on. So anyways, I'm going to share this with you. Let me know if you see this. So these are fans of the podcast and from all over.
Oh my God, that's awesome. That is awesome.
So this is by Jacques Lemonnier. He's an awesome artist from France.
Oh, thanks so much for doing that. That's so cool.
Yeah, I like his work. There's a lot of nice movement in there.
Yeah, he's good.
And,
very good. Oh, awesome. Oh, with my dog there too.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
This is by Pablo Salas.
Pablo Salas. Oh, man.
Yeah.
I can't believe this. I didn't know they were going to do this.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm always jealous of this guy's work because he always has like, he just keeps it so simple with the line work, but it's not simple.
Yeah.
It's not easy to do that.
No, my God, no. And great like, expression.
It really just captures it. There's a lot of movement and likeness, and I really like it. It's really cool.
He just has all the essentials.
Yeah. Even that dog, like, look how simple the lines are and everything, but there's so much character in that.
I know. Yeah, it looks like my boy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And same with this. This is great. A great design.
Cool. Wow, that's a unique take.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got my giant blockhead.
This is by Dominic Zeilinger.
That is awesome.
Yeah, there's I see I'm feeling a little Al Hirschfeld in here, a little
big time. Yeah. That is so cool.
You know what? It's like Al Hirschfeld. If Al Hirschfeld was, or if Lego was making a Scott Tallman's Lego character, but in an Al Hirschfeld design, you know?
Yeah, no kidding. That would be an awesome. This would be an awesome logo.
Yeah, I'll send these all to you, by the way, and you can reach out if you want.
Yeah, I'd like to reach out to these. So, that'd be great.
You definitely look like a Lego head on here.
I know. That's awesome. I used to love Legos as a kid.
Just paint that yellow, and there you go.
I know. Wow, that is awesome.
This is by. Speaking of Al Hirschfeld, those look like some Al Hirschfeld legs.
Yeah, it totally does.
This is by Paula Petlawani. Which, by the way, she just wrote me and told me that she had eye surgery. So,
oh wow,
yeah. So
she's doing okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think, hopefully, yeah. I think she is. But
yeah, that's
pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool. That is awesome.
And I don't know what's going on here.
Oh my God, that is awesome. That was back in my cigar smoking days.
This is by Juan Gastelum. Yeah.
He must have saw a photo when I was up in Alaska when I had this giant beard.
I was trying to figure out what's going on. Like, there's so much, the horns, the third eye. He always adds an alien in all his.
Interesting.
You know,
I wonder what the RHCP means.
RHCP. Red Hot Chili Peppers? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, good job. That's what it is. I love those guys.
Why would he add that?
Man, this guy's, you knew.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. Red Hot Chili Peppers. Oh, is that the last one? Oh, that's the last one. Okay.
That is so cool. Thanks so much, you guys, for doing that. That was special. I didn't expect that.
Yeah. That is awesome. So as I said, thank you so much, everybody, for submitting, and we're going to continue our conversation. But before we go, do you want to let people know like where they can find you online and all that kind of stuff? And
yeah, well, on social media, it's I think it's just Instagram is just Scott Tallman Powers, and on Facebook it's Scott Tallman Powers, and also Scott Powers Fine Art, two different accounts, and then Scott Powers ScottPowersFineArt.com, and that's the easiest way.
Awesome. And again, everybody, if you want to see some more with Scott and check out his paintings, please check out patreon.com/Jason Seiler. Check out what I got going on there at Patreon. It's pretty cool. Every week I do I do a painting or two, and I video myself doing it. So
cool.
There's basically, hours of videos every month on Patreon, plus bonus podcasts like this. So please check it out. Support the arts. Support my little babies. They need to eat.
Right.
Yeah. And thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you all next time.
Yeah, thanks guys. Appreciate it.